best things that we have in the profession.
Thank you, my room. I just had my table in my room, and I was working from there.
Mentioned that you'll be speaking to the first batch of law school students who are currently on their externship break and giving them tips to maximize their journey while during this externship period and when they get back to school approaching their exams.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, sure, I understand. Good evening, everyone. I should say thank you to the organizers for this, my friend Emmanuel, and I should also say that it's a good one. I remember last year I was obviously in this situation. Obviously, my law school started 2023 January, and it was very intense. I mean, for a number of people here, you have already started, and you know how it was. So I can relate. That's what I should say. I can relate, and by God's grace, everything ended in praise, as some people would say. I'm not going to waste any more this time. I'm going to just talk about my story, so you have a general overview of how I fared, and then I'll hit the points. Obviously, guys in externship, after you come back from externship, few months, then you write the exams, and also this is also the time when you're thinking about making those job applications. Which, I mean, let's be real, that's what all this is all about, right? Getting that top job and then building your career up from there. So I would just without further ado, I would just get into it. So I was in Lagos campus. That's the first thing I should say. And if you are in Lagos campus, you know how Lagos campus can be quite intense with the lecturers, Dr. Dushote, and all of that. I would say that it was a great place, but of course, it also has its disadvantages, especially if you are not staying in the executive hostels. But I mean, because I was not in the executive hostel, so the point I'm trying to bring from that is it doesn't matter you're in the executive hostel, you're not in the executive hostel. If you do what needs to be done, things will still come out good. The next thing I should say was, or rather, the next thing I should say is, at first, I wasn't using the best reading strategy. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, at first, I was reading. Okay, practical example. Let's say on Monday you had criminal litigation. I would, after in the evening, after having a nap and all of that, I would read criminal litigation, my notes. I would read Condi Smith. I would read the textbook, to try and summarize my notes and get a robust notes. You understand? And as you guys know, there isn't a lot of time in law school because it's so voluminous. And then I found out that I wasn't finishing things. Everything was just piling and piling and piling. And it got to a point that I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to use my notes. Because I spoke to a lot of people and I listened to a lot of webinars, and people were like, see, your notes is okay, right? So I was not just using my notes, and then you can dismiss, right? And then I had a summary notes. So, for example, the way criminal litigation is, how it's a point by point course. There's no story. And I will come to answering questions in exam, right? There's no story. There's no need for storytelling, especially in criminal litigation. For example, the principle on arrest, how in Abuja, it's, I mean, in Abuja, it's when the court is sitting, right? And then in Lagos, it's in the courtroom premises. You can't arrest somebody in courtroom premises. So that kind of thing, when I'm reading, I don't write too much. Now my summary, it was points. Abuja, when court sits in Lagos, full courtroom. So my summary note was point, 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 point across all the courses. What happened was, when I was reading, preparing for exams and all whatnot, I wasn't then relying on my notes any longer because all I needed to know was in my summary note, and it was just the point. So I see some people, they recopy their notes again. I don't know. So I'm saying this, giving a practical example, so you understand the importance of strategy in reading, because there is no time. You cannot get on textbook and be recopy your notes. I mean, because a lot of the things in your notes or that was said in class already in Condi Smith, for example. So why not just put as a point maybe content of a warrant of arrest? But then okay, I need to know the content of the warrant of arrest, and then you look at Condi. You cannot be recopying your notes again in the guise of or rather with the idea that you're trying to summarize. No, your summary notes should be a point thing. The idea is that you you can visualize everything you need to know about that particular topic. So that when you're preparing for exams, it's easy to revise. Okay, this point is off the top of your head. This point is, so that's that for reading strategy. And I think it was very important for me, right? And when we come to exam strategy, I've told on a lot of webinars that I've been on, I've always talked about the fact that the law school exams, it's like tripartite, right? It's a trident: the theory questions, the MCQ questions, and then the drafts. So if you're preparing for the MCQs, you have to be intentional about preparation for the MCQs. Don't assume that because you are reading generally, you know what you need to know for the MCQs. No, it doesn't work like that. And I say this point with full authority, right? Because if you look at the courses I was best in, things like civil, property, corporate, you can imagine, you guys are in law school, you know the details in those courses, right? And I was quite strategic. I was reading it. As I was preparing for theory, I was also having in mind that, okay, I need to be intentional with my preparation for drafts. I need to be intentional with my preparation for MCQs. So as I was reading, like on the front page of my notes, right, on the front page of my notes, you know all those things in all those form 1, form 2, all those CSC form this and form that, I mean form 3, change of address, form. I had all of them, and the CSC form 1, 2, 3, 4. I just in front of my notes, scribbles. Let's say first board meeting of the company 6 months from the date of incorporation. Like, all those things were on the front page of my notes. So when I was going for the MCQ exam, I wasn't just going with I've read now. No, I know. I was quite intentional with that, and that was from the beginning when I was reading. Then even when I started practicing past questions, right? Maybe during the externship period, after externship, a lot of people I see them practice past questions. They will just maybe do a competition with their friends. Oh, they got 18, I got 19. They're happy. No, that's not it. I mean, then there's the higher level of people that when they practice the MCQs, maybe the ones they got wrong, they note the correct answer. Oh, this is what I should have done. Maybe they note it, but that's still not good enough. What I was doing was, let's say I'm taking 2022 corporate MCQ questions, right? Firstly, I was even timing myself 45 minutes, right? As opposed to, okay, that's full year. The full year is 60 minutes. So I would time myself 45 minutes. And if I did corporate that year, I would now check through all the questions I answered, both the ones I got correctly and the ones I failed. Because you know that at times you could get a question correctly when you're practicing, but you didn't know the right reason for it, right? You didn't know why you picked that answer, or you guessed, or you were not 100% sure of the reason for the answer. All those things, I would go over it, and then I would document that point. Any point that I felt it was not locked in permanently in my head, I would just document. So I had like an MCQ note. I remember my friend was laughing at me. My friend said, and the MCQ is the one you get first class. It was funny because of the amount of time I spent on MCQs. But I think it made all the difference because, I mean, you can imagine, I probably scored very high in the MCQs. And that's because I was quite intentional about it. So that's another point, another practical point to take away. And then the next thing is that you come to drafts. The way in corporate law, you have, for example, registration of private to public. But I mean, they are essentially in the same format, right? So I had a draft notes again for each course where I would just put this, put that, put this. So the idea is, at least when I'm reading, I like to be able to visualize everything I need at a particular point in time. So I know that, okay, if I want to revise all my drafts in corporate in the next 30 minutes, I can just get my notes and just look through, see what you don't need to be, for me, because there's not enough time, right? So you don't need to be practicing everything again. You know that, for example, change in objects is the same format for change of name, for change of everything, right? So I'll just highlight the sections: change of name, section 30 sub 3, change of object, I think it's about 51 or thereabout. So I knew the sections, knew all the little details, right, in every single draft because I'd written them down. So it was not a situation of it was by chance or I'm reading, I think I should be good. No, I was very intentional when preparing for the MCQs and when preparing for the drafts. And of course, if you are reading well enough, you know how to prepare for the theory, right? As you are reading, you get good or comfortable with answering questions. I would also say this because I've said it a lot. You need to know how to answer questions. You need to know how to answer questions. I'll give you a very practical example. I'm also trying to be mindful of time. So maybe the organizer, you can just tell me how long I have left so I can just dish everything I have to dish out. So answering questions, I'm going to give you a practical example. Let's use property law, for example. Let's say there's a lease agreement, right? And Nyerhovwo has a lawyer, and Nero is the buyer, the lessee, as you guys call it. But let's just say, okay, I said lease, right? Okay, Nero is the person that wants to get a lease, and then the lessor on the other end, then the agreement has been prepared and all whatnot, and Nero's lawyer signs the lease agreement on behalf of Nero. Now, let's everybody knows that maybe John is Nero's lawyer, but they're asking you guys to comment on the validity of the lease, for example. Maybe 80% of people would just say, the conditions, if there was definite time, definite term, the parties are, and exclusivity of the lease and all whatnot. Now, there's a particular point I want to bring out there: certainty of parties. Most people will just say, is Nero's lawyer, meaning Nero effectively signed it, and therefore the lease is valid. Some other people might just argue that, and I think they'll be in the minority. Some people will argue that the lawyer is not Nero, and since the lawyer that signed it, the lease cannot be valid. But when you're answering a property law exam, you cannot answer like that. And I'll tell you, because this is what Dr. Dushede told us in class. She would say that after you have talked about the other elements, if they are present, you will then come. As to the requirement for certainty of parties, there is no indication from the scenario that Nero effected a power of attorney to the lawyer to enable it enter into that lease agreement on behalf of Nero. Neither is there any written authority to the effect that both parties understood that the lawyer was to enter into the transaction on behalf of Nero. Therefore, to the extent that there was no understanding between the parties or a power of attorney effected to the extent that the lawyer could enter into that transaction, the lease will not be valid. However, if there was an understanding between the parties that the lawyer had the authority to enter into the transaction on behalf of Nero, or a power of attorney had been effected to enter into the transaction on behalf of Nero, then the lease is valid. So you see the way in my conclusion, I have made the conclusion so robust. And this is probably a simple example, but there are various ways a property law exam or a prophetic exam could come in, and you start missing those small marks. So that's the way I would answer it, and you are best in property, right? But another person answers it and you don't just get all the marks, or they just miss very simple marks. So I think the point to take out of there is you need to know how you're answering questions. You need to, and again, don't overthink it, right? So that every question you're now, no, it's a skill, to be honest, but it's a skill you must learn to answer questions precisely. And I was speaking with experience in my law firm, Templars, or rather in the firm I work at. I told them to be precise. For example, they tell you when is the first board meeting of the company to be held. You cannot say within 6 months. Within 6 months of what? Within 6 months of the incorporation of the company, right? That is the law, not within 6 months. There's this a rule about retirement of directors. The correct position of the law is subject to the provision of the articles of the company. So it's possible for the articles to say something else, and then the articles will now be the deciding factor, as opposed to the old, the rule now, every AGM, 3 directors must retire, something like that. So you have to be precise. There's a requirement of precision. And I think, and there's just a lot of little points here and there, right, that I could just keep on reeling out. But the broader point is, and I wrote about it on my IG highlights a lot last year, there's the requirement of precision in law school. You need to be precise, both with the strategy you're using to read, and even on the day of execution, you have to be precise. You cannot just be reading any and everything. You have to be precise. First thing first. Then I've talked about that, how to read. I've talked about how to. So I think someone else is talking. I think Mr. Olaufe. I don't know if can you kindly mute. Mr. Ola, can you please mute? All right, thank you. Good. So, and I've talked about that precision, and then answering questions properly. Let me come to externship. By now, you guys have done the court externship, so you probably know if by the end of externship you would have hit your targets or not. But even if you haven't done what you needed to have been doing, there's no cause for alarm. There's still a bit of time. My externship, I've revised everything we had done, right? And then I read ahead of the class. But don't get it twisted, so you don't put yourself under too much pressure. I did not understand everything I read. But the point was I'd looked at it, I'd gotten my summaries down, so I had a decent understanding of what everything was. And it was very important for me as well because I first, so I used the court externship to revise all we had done. So in other words, if we had an exam, right, and it was only going to be set on the first 10 topics, I could attempt that exam and get first class. That was my idea, right? So because the way I work is I work with revision. I need to revise and revise and revise something, then it sticks permanently, right? So it was important for me to revise enough. And then I read ahead of the class. So what was then happening was when we came back from externship, after, because I read that topic after each class. So if you have criminal investigation on Monday, it's criminal investigation I'll read Monday evening and on and on. So as I was reading, as we were teaching and reading, it was essentially like reading something for the second and third time. And it helped because it gave me the chance to have that precision. I've looked at it, I've looked at it, I've looked at it. So I wasn't missing details. I was getting every relevant detail. So if you have not done that, I think maybe you should try and do that. But if it's already too late, you won't be able to hit that target. At the very least, minimum requirement is that you at least revise all you have done, right? So that, because guys, there's no revision study break or something. When you're done with the last week of classes, 1 week, and after that 1 week is exam. And you cannot go for an exam, talk more of the law school exam, I haven't read your course content just once. It's honestly not possible, guys. So you have to have revised. So if you're not able to read ahead of the class, I would strongly advise that at least revise the things you have already done. Right? That's one point I should put out there. And then externship too. By now you probably know that, and okay, you guys are the firm, please, you need to read. Like, I mean, I see people and some extent they are working, especially maybe the ones in top tier firms. I mean, I'm a top tier firm myself, right? So I hope nobody reports me, but I strongly advise that you read more, because the person, your mate that is not working, quote unquote, or doing some office work, is in one law firm in Ibadan, or sorry to Ibadan guys, or anywhere in Nigeria that's not, and he's reading. And when he gets that first class, he will come to the firm you're at now and he will actually be an employee there. Right? So please, I strongly advise read. And even going to court, I've told people, I think you will benefit more. 2 hours of reading your civil litigation is more beneficial than the 2 hours you spend in court. It's just the truth. Because there's a precision that is required that you cannot just get from a general understanding of how things work. For example, how to move emotion. Yes, you will see that lawyer moving the motion in court, but you need to know exactly what your note said about the process of moving the motion. That's how you're going to get your full marks, not by listening to what that lawyer said in court. But I think you guys are done with court extension already, so it doesn't even matter any longer. But the broad point I'm trying to make is you need to read. That's what you need to do, not necessarily working and all whatnot. Then sending applications. I sent my applications for these firms like 1 week after extension was over. They didn't start getting back to us, to be fair, till like 4 or 5 weeks after. But obviously they start compiling their database, looking at good CVs, good cover letters, and see, guys, start early. And I'll tell you this, before my law school results came out, so in other words, before anybody knew I had the first class, before anybody knew I was BJS or whatever, I had 5 offers, right, from all the tier 1 law firms. So this one's never won because I got the first class. I applied early. I did all the tests and I did the interviews, and I mean, they liked me, right? And it's important because I promise you, because it happened in my set, because people that didn't apply early, let's say they then saw their law school result and they got a first class, but these law firms are the real recruited. So even with your double, I know a lot of double first class people that didn't get jobs at the tier 1 law firms, as I like to call them. and double 2-1, 2-1, even 2-2 safe. Because okay, let me not say 2-2. It's the long that one's a long story. It's not really connection things, but I don't talk about that. But the point I'm trying to make is apply early for the externship. Like 1 week after externship, just send in those applications, right? That would help you a lot. Okay, so a lot of people ask me, how are you really doing externship? I see that some people have timetables. Aminat spoke about it, and she said she even put up a timetable. And if you're able to follow that religiously, I'm sure that was good stuff. But on my end, I wasn't that structured in my reading. Like I said, the first 6 weeks of externship, I used to revise all we had done. I was just turning over the courses day by day, week by week. So, for example, criminal litigation, prophetics, property, they are relatively short courses. I would just did it that week. 1 week, I finished criminal. The next week, I finished property. The next week, I finished property. I'm talking of quality revision that I could answer an exam. So after I read it, I practiced past questions, everything. So I guess probably I'm also a bit fast in reading too. But even if you're slow, it's something you can do, right? So that's what I was doing. And then when I was not reading ahead of the class during the firm externship, it was still the same approach. It probably took a bit longer, right? But the point is that's what I was doing, just turning over week by week. So if you can't do that, if you want to work with the timetable, if it helps you with structure, that's also fine. But I'm just telling you what I did, and it worked for me. And of course, the team of this webinar is doing so much with so little. I think yeah, it's probably they're doing so much so little. And I would conclude in a bit, but just before I conclude, I should just talk about the broad points. It's precision, guys. It's precision. It's precision. You can't afford to slack. I mean, a lot of people have the challenge that they don't finish one course and then the next course comes and then teams pile up. I understand, I really do. But like what I was telling my friends, there is no other way. I remember on my wallpaper, right? That was what was my wallpaper. There is no other way. You just have to go through it. You have to finish criminal litigation that Monday because civil is coming on Tuesday, and you must read what you did in class for civil that evening, and you must read what you did in class on Wednesday for corporate. You must read it that evening. So you just have to go through the rigors. It's just 9 months. I mean, I don't think about law school any longer, right? So you just have to go through it. There's no other way. The broad point is precision. If you are precise enough, you'll be able to get everything you need done. Yeah, I know the question is, Nyerhovwo, how can I do all you said for MCQs? How can I do that for drafts? How can I then still have a grasp of all my topics? I know, I understand how challenging it can be, but guys, I'm probably maybe different to other people because I don't know how to give a shortcut to the answer or a microwave solution, like I like to put it. You just have to go through the rigor. It's just what it is. And I hope I'm not discouraging anyone. My point is, it's doable, right? It's doable. It really is doable, but you're going to have to go through it. And then I tell people, you probably don't want to put yourself under the pressure of looking for best graduating students, right? Just do. I know people that didn't stress that much. First class, 2-1, 2-2, if that's your goal. So the point I'm trying to make is doable. So don't fret. Don't think I'm lagging behind. It's just, or rather, this is just a rallying call. Like, you're lagging behind. You probably need to start
Conclude,
accelerating.
but we play ball for ground.
Benedict, please, your microphone is on. Can you please switch it off?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So the point is, if you're lagging behind, this is a rallying
Hi,
call.
Kenneth. Sorry, please, your microphone is on. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're lagging behind, this is a rallying call for you to then just double up that effort. After externship, it's going to be really intense because the topics keep on coming, and then the scale of the exam starts, because okay. Yeah. So there's absolutely nothing preventing you from getting it done. And I should conclude by just having a word of encouragement. Obviously, we're going to have a Q&A later. So if you have specific questions, you can obviously drop it in the chat box. I would just say that the externship was absolutely critical for me. I don't think I'd started doing the right things before externship. What am I saying? I was not doing the right thing for externship. I wasn't reading the proper way. But when I caught the vision, like I like to put it during the externship, I just flew. If you are friends with anybody in Lagos campus, people would say that they didn't know me. I wasn't active in class till about 2 months before the exam. That's when people now started knowing me, because it took a bit of time for me to get the right strategy. And when I got the right strategy, I just kept on flying. So I think that's also what I would say. Work with precision, be careful with the details. That's what matters, right? Don't major on minors, right? And with God's grace, it will come good. I promise you, with God's grace, it will come good. So thank you very much for listening to me. Obviously, we're gonna have Q&A later, so feel free to drop all your questions. And I think I would just defer to the host now. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Nero, for such an insightful session. I personally learned a lot myself, and I can't wait to ask you our questions at the end of the session. Please, if you have any questions for Nero, you can drop it in the chat box, or you can wait till the question session, and then we'll take 3 or 4 questions from people, and then get a few more. So now we go on to our second speaker, who is David Udioko. David, please, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm with us.
All right, thank you, Mr. David. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Cheers to Umukoro of Counsel. It was so good to hear from you. This is the first time me hearing Umukoro speak, and I tell you, I was, you know what it means to listen to the BGS of your year. The way you guys are feeling is the same one I'm feeling. I was there in the hall that day when they were calling this G out. Property law. Yeah, Umukoro. I was like, no. This all you did, this guy had. So please, shout out to Umukoro. Just go to the comment section, reactions, and just give him a round of applause. Cheers, man. Cheers, man. You really did us good. In fact, there was people were now complaining. We're like, how would the person that packed almost all the prizes the second BGS? What happened and everything? But it's all good. Cheers, man. I really got 18 or 2. And if I was to do law school again, God forbid, I know what to implement. But cheers. All right, so I would just go straight up now. I will start by telling my story. So why I always tell my stories, because I think my story is enough strategy. So, and a good number of persons on this call may relate to my story. So I'm David Udioko, and first off, it started with I finished from the university in 2021. I went to a federal university, University of Calabar, and I didn't have a good grade from the university, quote and unquote. So what do we call good grades? First class, 2-1. First off, my school doesn't even give a first class. So it wasn't even possible for me to get a first class. So, and I was like, okay, how about a 2-1? So, but it didn't also work. So I left the University of Calabar with a second class lower. And it really messed up with my head, because I know what I was gunning for. I participated in a lot of things, moot and mock, debate and everything. So I was like everywhere. So that result didn't really reflect my intentions going to the school. So it really pissed me off. And I didn't come to law school with my colleagues. So for persons who know the likes of Etaba Abo and some other William Sumo, that was my set. So but I didn't go to law school with them. So I was home for 1 year and 7 months, and I did not do anything about the Nigerian law school. I didn't study before law school. I didn't do internships and everything. Just because I'm actually an entrepreneur. I do web designs, graphic designs, video, and all the rest. So I just leverage on that aspect. So coming to the Nigerian law school, I didn't come with the mindset to get a first class or get anything. I was just like, let's just get this thing done with and go back, because I thought it was over. So, but something happened on the second week of my resumption, and this is where it starts. So I did subscribe to a particular newsletter by Chris Carlo, and the first newsletter, the second newsletter, that's the second one that came. made me reflect. And this is where a lot of persons who probably do not have a stellar record to give you that boost. A lot of you, because of your past experiences with probably your universities or past experiences with not really doing very well, it might affect your performance in the law school, and you're just settling for less. And for those persons now, like you've not had some good experiences back, and then you've written yourself out, and you're like first class now for them. These are the persons I'm speaking to right now. So I had to reflect again. I said, David, so because you had a 2-2 university, you would just fold your arms and then just sit down, and then like I had to reflect, and I made a decision that day. I wrote it down in my diary. It's my diary. My diary is here. I will show you before I'm done. I wrote it down in my diary that I went to the Nigerian law school with. I told myself it is on today is so and so date. Because before the externship, I just read a particular newsletter from Grace Kano, and I'm deciding on this particular day that I'm leaving the Nigerian law school with nothing less than a first class. I would not let my result at university keep me down. And so it started from my mindset. So immediately I told myself that, see, Dave, you have to put in the work now. That was the first step. I made up my mind. Umukoro said he caught division. So for certain persons here, it's not just about reading, it's not about everybody reads in law school, but it's about you first catching division, because there are a lot of persons with potentials to have red scrolls and to do excellently well, but because of past experiences, you're just settling. You're just going for the barest minimum. You're not putting in the necessary work to get you there. But there are persons who are not on this webinar today because they've already settled. They're like, let me just do what I can do. So when they saw the webinar, it's not that they don't have that potential, but since they just saw that the people on the webinar are first class, they say, they will talk first class thing. I don't want first class. I'm not coming there. So for you who summon courage, irrespective of the background you have to be on this webinar, you're in the right place. So after I made that decision, I now started putting in the work. And Umukoro of Counsel has said a lot of things about putting in the work, but this is how it played on my end. So for some persons, you may listen to our stories and you may want to take it hook, line, and sinker. And this is what I tell people when I speak, especially with regards to the Nigerian law school. Anytime anybody speaks anywhere, there are principles in what they say, and their experiences. Like there are principles you can deduce from their experiences. You don't mix principles with experience. So a person's experience, like Umukoro said when he was talking about externship, how that he didn't have like a timetable. He was just turning over the topics, turning over the courses. Whereas Aminat was the best graduating student. Is the best graduating student. So she had a timetable. So for you, it might be timetable, it might not be timetable, but you must listen in the experiences so that you don't get into problems. Because you're not Umukoro, you're not David. You are you. You're Abigail, you're Kenneth, you're Benedict. You are you. So you must find a way to put these principles in you and then work with it. That way you will find your own story. So now this is what I did. After making the decision that, see, Dave, you're leaving this place with nothing less than a first class, irrespective of the 2-2 you got from the University of Calabar. And this is why it meant so personal to me. I had to give myself reasons. University of Calabar, fine institution with amazing people doing great things. But since the inception of that university to date, that university has not produced more than 5 first class at the Nigerian law school. Is it up to 5? So I had to put this fact. I had to give myself these reasons that David, you have to prove a point. And it's not done. You get to in university, you can't get a first class in law school. It's rare. So I told myself, David, you have to prove a point. So you have to give yourself a reason to come out excellently well, especially for those people like myself who don't have stellar records. That's the mindset. And then once I had that mindset, I had to take it to God in prayer. I was like, God, this is what I want to do. I need you to help me. Ask God for grace. So, I'm going to say it now. Your law school journey, the grace of God is really, really what you need. I remember in Kano campus, one of our lecturers, a Muslim, he was saying it, I think about a month to our exams. He said, see, that as they've been telling us all this while to read our books, to do this and do that and do that, but he said that, see, you must understand that there's a spiritual layer to life itself, and law school is not outside life. Like, your journey through law school is part of your life, it's part of you. So there will have to be that spiritual layer where you call on the Almighty God, your creator, who you believe in, for him to show up for you. Because come on, I had colleagues who read, but not all of them came out with the first class. I had colleagues who sat with me in the same hall that still failed the bar exams. People who read, like, I was a group leader, I led group 2 in Kano campus, also known as Team Possible. So I had group members who were these people, you would see them show up. I was chairman tutorial committee for SROC. So I was part of the SROC. So I know people that will come and meet me alpha for tutorials, alpha for this. I would see people around child hall. There's one we call child hall in Kano campus. You will know these people are putting in the work, but still, they don't have a glamorous story. They are waiting for their results in July. I was part of we're part of the group. We have a group where we are working with those persons who wrote the receipt, and I know how they put in the work. So that's why I'm putting it out there that you cannot do the law school without the God factor. And now let's go into strategy now. So these are the things I would tell people that were for me. After I've talked about mindset and the fact that I had mentorship, that is Grace, the mentorship, NLS Mind Check with Grace Valley, I recommend it. I'm not saying if you don't do it, you won't get a first class. No, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I recommend it because it helped me during my journey. Okay. Now, another thing you must understand as you go through the Nigerian law school is that you can't do it alone. What do I mean by you can't do it alone? I don't mean you need to sit down in the midst of people and be reading, but having like minds is key. So the hosts, the convener of the Excellent Nigerian Lawyers Guide, Manuel Ademoete, he had a first class too. From the Nigerian Law School Kano campus. Okay, so I and Manny were like this, and he actually started after the externship. We're three, myself, Manny, and Erin. Like, we would always, like, we were the ecosystem we needed. Because when there were doubters all around, because the going will get tough. Some of you are already relating, it's becoming overwhelming and everything. When the going gets tough, you need those guys to remind you of, see, this is why we started, this is what we are doing. Those regiments of showing up. So we had a routine of addressing past. After externship, we filled our long notes like with past questions. We're actively solving past questions. Just like Umukoro said, the 60 minutes, you will give yourself 45 minutes. Yes, the past questions for theory is 3 hours at the bar exams, or we'll give ourselves 2 hours to still answer the same 4 questions. And once we're done, we will exchange scripts and we'll mark ourselves. So now, what does this do for us? This is one of the strategies. Now, what does this do for us? What did past questions do for us? 1, it made us hone speed. Speed was 1. 2, it made us understand the mind of the examiners. And then 3, it made us to be able to answer these questions properly. Just like Umukoro was giving tips as to how to answer these questions. It's very, very key. It's not the cliche university way and everything. In fact, someone reached out to me, I think last month, and was like, he sent a past question. It was about, I think it was the jurisdiction, original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. I think the matter was between, the scenario was something like this. I think the president did something that affected the governor of a particular state directly. I think it was something about either sacking him or impeaching him or something of that nature. And he affected the president directly. And then the scenario was like, the president now went ahead to brief his lawyers to institute an action, the governor rather, against the president. So there were a lot of things everywhere. So before he read the question, he was already answering. Just like our universities, I don't know whether every university was that way. They will give you a scenario and your duty is to pick all the issues. Law school is not that way. You can have a scenario with 8 issues, but the questions that the A, B, C, D, and E are only addressing 3. Don't go and answer what was not asked. So that's what past questions help me do. So you don't waste time. You don't waste time reading. You read out the question. You start. Let's say, for instance, now you read a particular question on professional ethics and skills, and then you see confidentiality there. You see conflict of interest. You see devotion to the cause and interest of your clients. You see improper advertisements, all in that scenario. But now you go to the question from A to E. No question is asking you about confidentiality. No question is asking you about what's it called? Conflict of interest. All the questions are about improper attraction of business and proper devotion to the cause of his clients. And that's why one of our lecturers, I hear a man had told us, said, when answering past questions or when answering your bar exams, the first thing you need to do, the first thing, before reading the long scenario, go straight to A to E. This I'm talking about speed. This is what past questions helped us do. So before reading the entire long, let's go straight to it from A to E. Okay, A is talking about this. Because by the time you read this, by the time you read those things, you already have an understanding. I'm talking about time here. And why is this important? In property law, something happened to us. Mani can relate, Umukoro can relate. And in Kano, we had it bad in Kano campus. In fact, when we assessed the receipts, number of persons that failed these bar exams, we had people that did very well, but we had a good number of not just receipts, but conditional pass from Kano. And most of their conditional pass were property law. Why? Because we had an issue. We already 1 hour and some minutes into the exams before they noticed a mistake in a particular question. The question originally was meant to just ask us to draft probably the introductory and then the concluding part of the documents, the final document of the whole transaction in this scenario. However, the question mistakenly said to draft the entire documents, like the entire document of the various, the entire draft rather of the various documents. So like there were 3. There was, I think there was POA, I can't really recall. There was sale of land, there was lease about. Imagine drafting deed of assignment, I think the deed of lease and power of attorney, full draft, beginning to end, in just question 1A. You have not done B, C, D, E, and everything. So that really destabilized a lot of persons. You understand? So, and when they found out, a lot of people have already drafted it and were still on that question, and then they only gave 10 minutes extra. I don't know what happened in other campus, but that was happening in Kano. What came through for some of us, for some persons, is because some persons, like I spoke to Damizi, some of you may know Damizi, if from Kano. So Damizi said he left that one and went to question 4 and started from 4 because it was so problematic. He didn't want to waste time there. Then those who didn't do that, like myself, who started from 1, myself and Mani, what helped us was speed. We had already been drafting, we had already been attempting past questions, so we already had speed in this area. So therefore, when we are addressing, once we addressed even when we had drafted everything and they said it's wrong, we just went on. And this is not pride. Mani is here to confirm. And Mani were in the same classroom. We didn't do it on purpose. It's not that we are friends, we stay in the same classroom. No. But we're on the same row. It's law school that does all those things. So it just happens to be that we're in the same classroom, we're in the same row. But we didn't talk to each other. I was at the front, he was at the back. So they don't have any idea in your head now. So, but that relates. We finished and we still had 30 minutes extra. This was an exam. People came out and people were crying, and rightly so, because law school did us dirty. So, but what came through for us was because we had been practicing. We would give ourselves time. We say, okay, we want to draft motion on notice for so and so, 5 minutes. We want to draft this time. You understand? We'll give ourselves time. So that way, we're just like where Umukoro said, you don't just read openly, you prepare for draft, you prepare for essay, you prepare for MCQ. So this was like our technique to prepare for draft. Loads of past questions, because civil litigation, you would jam drafts. It's very important. So past questions is very key. When you start it, may differ, but don't start it when it's close, when exams are very, very, very close. Okay, you can start MCQs for those who are just resuming. You can be doing MCQs. Okay, then for those of you who are already in externship, then this is a good time to have started, you understand, attempting theories and what have you. But there's no hard and fast rule to this thing. Just make sure that you start past questions, but not when exams are close by. You can start past questions and give yourself enough time to go over and over and over on that particular thing. Now, let's go to another. I'm done with the past questions area now. Let's go to area concerning like you have some of you guys are just resuming. Some people are on externship. Now, I didn't resume on time. Some persons, I'm aware with what's going on now with the second batch. So I spoke to somebody last week, and some persons are still just resuming. Don't feel bad. Don't write yourself off and say, "Top, it's over." No, it's not over. I know 2 persons from Kano campus who resumed late, like later than I resumed, and they had a first class. I know some that had 2-1. If I said my room, Ukasha, that young man resumed just a week to externship. Ukasha resumed a week to externship. His number is like the last set. That guy had a 2-1. My roommate, see my bunk, see his own bunk. Ukasha, a Muslim. So it's not about I resumed late. No. Don't pity yourself. Don't go into self-pity and say no. See, what you just need to do is to what? Just put down those things. You already know that you don't have the luxury of time like everybody does. So what you just need to do is those areas, those topics that have already been treated, just write them down. If you're a timetable person, you can put your timetable, but just write them down. You understand? Once you just put those things down, the next thing is, okay, definitely you have to pay attention in class. You have to. The class, in fact, what is taught in class is your ground norm. It's the phone set origo. It's to the extent anything that's inconsistent what they're taught in class, so the end of inconsistency is null and void. Whether you saw it in Agbata, in Mbobayo, even if you saw it in Kama, and your lecturer said something else, I'm telling you, even if Kama says that the resolution is ordinary resolution, and then your lecturer says it's special resolution, I tell you, so far as that, you're not in the courtroom, so far as that class and that course is concerned, follow what your lecturer said. Follow what they said. The best you can do is maybe after class, meet the lecturer, say, man, see you in Kama, this is what I saw, this is it. You say, okay. They will now tell you, okay, this is it, but probably when we met at council, we said we have agreed at the Council of Education that this will be the position of the Nigerian law school. Things like that happen. You can't be reading Kama and say, no, this is what Kama said. I tell you, it's not the draftsman of Kama that will mark your result, it's your lecturers. So just better listen to what they say. Now, before I did that division, the next thing you must understand is that when you put those things down, for those who are like behind time and stuff, put those things down, listen in class, take your notes. Umukoro, I said it, your note is enough. Personally, I didn't have a textbook. I'm not saying if you bought textbook, you wasted your money. No, you have a library. Personally, I didn't have a textbook. Yeah, man, we don't get textbook. Pardon the funny language I just used. We didn't have a textbook. What we did was our notes, Agbata, Kondi, those short ones, because it's strategy. There's a lot to do in law school. And you want to finishing you want to finish Agbata. Have you seen Agbata is like Oxford Dictionary, 11th edition. So please, you don't need to carry those textbooks. The team of this program is doing so much with so little time. So for those persons who are behind, once you put those things down, you can give yourself, okay, at the morning hours, or probably in the evenings or in the afternoon, whichever, take a look. At this point, you're not reading to get mastery yet. You still have the externship to consolidate. But why you need to read those things, because the way the law school curriculum is that everything is like a building block. So everything builds on each other. So for instance, after they teach you arrests, search, and warrants, they would necessarily move on to pre-trial investigation. They will necessarily move on to the next topic in that sequence. You will see alibi, you will go on and on, you see charges. After charges, before you now see you will now go on to trials and everything and all. So sometimes if you don't understand a particular, for instance now, if you don't understand parties to an action in civil, you don't understand interlocutory applications. By the time you start going further, the thing will not be it may not make sense. So that's why it's good that, okay, you have like a graphs, you understand, of those preliminary stuff you get, of those preliminary stuff at a particular point in time. Not saying that you should not look at your tax, or you shouldn't, this thing is timing actually. You say there's a lot to do. If you can time yourself, regiment yourself. If I was a group meeting person, but if you know that you're behind time, leave group meetings. I personally was a group leader, so I attended group meetings from day one to 2 weeks to exams. I was group leader. So my group was the best group, got an award, SROC. I was a group meeting freak, but I can count how many times I missed it, and it was just twice. One was because of my health. I wasn't really feeling well at a particular point in time towards the exams, and the other I think was because of whether I was out of campus or something. So if group meetings is not your thing, please, you can stay one place and read your book. The idea, they are not marking group meeting. There's no score for best attendance in group meeting. If group is not your thing, stay on your own, read your books. The goal is to make good grades at the if your group meeting is your thing, please attend. If your group is structured and you get value from it, go. But some groups is basbos. You see people who are learning the law, arguing law, and everything, and you get more confused than you went there. Please just avoid it, okay? I know persons who are the first class who did nothing about group meetings, so it's not like a force. It's not by force. So, but create time where you can look at these things on the periphery, so that you, and as well as following the class. You understand? For those persons who resume late. Now, before I wrap it up on my end, and then we're now going to Q&As. I want us to understand something. The Nigerian law school, your time at the Nigerian law school, fine and good. It's the primary goal that all eyes can see and all hearts expect is that you go there, and come out with a good grade that can enable you practice as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. But this is an unpopular opinion I have about the Nigerian law school, is that your stay at the Nigerian law school is beyond getting a grade. Listen at this point. Everything you do there, people are watching. You're making acquaintances. For those persons who know they agree for anybody, you're making frenemies. You're creating an impression in the minds of people who are coming from virtually the 36 states of the country. And if you know the law practice, you're not a tech bro. The law practice is a practice where your network can really, really determine how far you go. So you must know, as you are in that place, humble yourself, be teachable, learn from every and any person, and make less enemies. I know Apostle Paul, permit me to use this biblical allusion. He said, Apostle Paul said, as much as is within your power, follow peace with all men. Avoid problem. Avoid getting queries. I know query, you may get query one or twice. I didn't get a query though, but getting a query doesn't mean you have a first class or have a 2-1. You get now. So, but avoid problem. Make good impressions. If there's an opportunity for you to lead and you believe you have the capacity to do so, don't shy away because I'm here to get first class alone. No. There are persons who are eating to the lawyers, not because of the grades they had from the Nigerian law school, but because of the relationships they consolidated. Mind you, I'm not saying you're not going to get a good grade. If there's an opportunity to serve, probably in the chapel, Naomi Eko, the person, the BGS for 2018 and 2017, because one thing I did was I started listening to a lot of YouTube videos and interviews of persons who had first class and all. And the beauty of what you guys have today is that this meeting is being recorded and it's going to be on YouTube, so you could go over and it again and listen and what have you. All right, so you can listen to it. So I was always like listening. In fact, I watched the call to bar ceremony of 3 years. I watched 2020. I was that obsessed because I know where I was coming from. I needed this thing. For me, it was not necessarily do or die, but it was a blood and sweat kind of thing for me, because in fact, I'm not saying you should do it, but I posted on my social media that I'm living here with a first class. People know me from school, know that I had a 2-2. They knew that the best writing student from my university didn't have a first class. So what is this guy saying? But I went out there so for me it was, if it must be this, I boasted to my parents, boasted to my friends, and told them that, see, bro, even I did come up for this place with first class. That's what I told them, because it was like that for me. So, but even if that is your position, you must know that it shouldn't stop you from serving. I had this mindset, but I served at the chapel. I was
media, assistant media coordinator. I am Manny, when the media unit of the chapel. Manny was an instrumentalist. Emmanuel Ademelete, he played the keyboard, he played the guitar. I was in SROC, I was part of SROC. I participated in MOOTS, SROC and externship. I was in class fund. I was organizing secretary. I was group leader. The only thing I don't do in law school was sports, because I'm not really of a sports person. You understand? Unlike Umukoro, that is a sportman. If you see Umukoro on the field, you will not know that this man is a lawyer. Oh, let me not go there. Before I bring any Messi and Ronaldo banter here, but that was the only thing I didn't do. So and those things I did are now like stepping stones to opportunities I've been able to leverage on post the call to bar. So for some of you here, I tell you and I lie not, some of you may not make a first class, not because you didn't do your best. You did your best, you put in your all. Some of you may not make a first class, but know that beyond the grade, there is more to life than that grade. If you hear senior lawyers, I don't mean young lawyers like us, yes, senior lawyers, 10 years, 15 years post-court talk, you will hear them say that my grade probably helped me that and everything, I don't came out. But afterwards, it was my ability to pedal to the metal and show myself and show my worth. So for those of you here who your aspirations are not to get a first class for different reasons, I'm not saying you're not in the right place. I'm not saying you're not worth it. No, everybody in the NLS school cannot get a first class. So even if know that you are on a mission that is beyond that paper. I just hope that you understand what I'm saying, but I'm going to wrap it up here, okay, because we don't have so much time. I hope you were able to get some value on it, and I know that the question and answer session would enable us expose certain things that were not really covered in the overview. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Compare, please. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, David. That was so insightful and so powerful. I'm personally very inspired by this. So we have a few questions from a few people who are showing a raise of hand. We'll start with Kubi. Kubi has a question for you. So the floor is yours, Kubi, to ask your question.
I'm sorry, it was an accident. I accidentally touched the button.
Oh, okay, then. Kenneth, then please can you ask your question? Kenneth, your hand is up. You raised up your hand. Please, if you have a question, you can ask now. Okay, I would like to think that was a mistake as well. So we can just go into the chat box and ask a few of the questions that I hear. So the first one, I think this is for Nero. Please, how did you handle memorizing the sections, orders, and rules? It's a lot with a lot of crying emojis. Very good question, please.
Okay, so let me just be answering the question one by one. The broad answer, and I like using these qualifiers. The broad answer is: do not pressure yourself to cram all the sections, because one, you cannot do it. It's not possible. And two, it's sections and cases and orders and all of that. It's half mark, right? It's half mark. And I know when half mark compounds, it can be something. But like I found out, 60 to 70% of the cases and sections I crammed were not relevant to my exam. I'm telling you the truth, they were not relevant. So that's the thing. Do not pressure yourself. And let me give you a practical example, so you know I'm not even trying to give you aspire to perspire. In criminal litigation, for example, you know that your number one question is charges, right? You know that you don't need any section there really for charges. Our fourth question is most likely examination in chief. All you need for that is section 222 of the Evidence Act. That's what you need for that, for number 4. So in other words, you have only 2 other questions that you need sections for. And when criminal litigation works, I promise you, it's very likely that it's even some popular cases you will need. Maybe cases on jurisdiction, interventions and states. So the point is, and it runs across other courses. For example, look at incorporate where you draft so many things. You may not need a lot of sections, right? So the point is, don't pressure yourself. But yes, to still provide an answer, it's revision. It's really revision. That's the only way. And it depends on how you like to read. For example, all those re-registrations, increase in share capital, reduction in share capital, I knew all the sections for them, right? And the way it worked for me was the way I read, I like to visualize the pages. It's almost in a photographic way, for example. For example, from private to public, so I put all of them on one page in my notes, in my summary notes. So I kept on seeing them, and then they stuck. So however way things stick for you, I think you should then double down on that way. So but there's no special strategy of cramming sections and cases. There's no special strategy. It's just how things stick for you, then just double down on it. Um then let me also say something. For example, in criminal litigation, you have ACJL Lagos, ACJL Kano, then ACJA. That is one for the FCT. In a point of arrest, like all those, the position of the law on arrest, there's the position in Kano, position in Lagos, position in Abuja. See, it is not possible to know all those sections. I promise you. It's not possible. That's just the truth. There are too many sections in criminal litigation, particularly. So it's not possible. And then you have to know Lagos, know Kano, know Abuja. How do you want to do it? So guys, honestly, and I'm telling you the truth, I did not know a lot of sections. Don't get me wrong, I still knew a lot, right? I still knew a lot, but at the same time too, I did not know a lot. So don't pressure yourself. But as to answer the question, it's really just looking at it. There's some things you must know, of course. I mean, Order 13, Lagos, summary judgment, Order 11, Abuja, all those things. And then Condi helps, there's a way they did it, maybe so in Lagos, two behind it will be the corresponding section in Abuja. There's much more tricks here and there. But yeah, that will be my answer to that. Let me not belabor the points. That will be my answer to that. Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Nero. Someone else asked, how did you learn drafts or
Okay.
practice drafts? Is it by drafting every single day?
All right. So I didn't draft every single day. Let me put that out there. To be very honest with you, I think draft is probably the one part of that trident that I didn't really push the way I was intentional about my MCQs and my theory. I didn't really push like that for draft. I didn't practice every single day. So like I said, let me give a typical example. And because I like to give practical examples. In property law, all those clauses in a lease, option to renew, rent, all those clauses. Those things can be very slippery because, like I said, there's a requirement of precision. So they can be very slippery. I had on it like I guess like stickers, all the sticker notes, right? So I would just write it, maybe just stick it on my wall or just around. What would then happen would be, all those 5 minutes where you're not doing anything or you're preparing for class in the morning, I would just read it, not even read as per intensive reading, just skim through it, try and recite it in my head. So all those small things, that I would say that was probably in large part what did it, what helped me to recall drafts. Because for drafts, right, you need to actually, like, ideally you should practice every day. Ideally you should practice and practice and practice. But the truth, like I said, doing so much with so little, there is not enough time. So all those little 5 minutes I could just sneak out when preparing, I would just mentally, okay, blah blah blah, prepare this course. For example, you did your assignment, just mentally, I would just prepare, like draft it in my head, just quickly check down my notes or down my sticker. Is this correct? So I miss this, so I miss that. I would take note of that. Okay, Nero, you find this thing quite slippery. Make sure you don't miss it. So that was how I was with drafts in the large part, right? And then, like I said before, I had a draft note for each course where I would put the important things to note. For example, the registration from maybe private to public, I can't remember the section. Let's say it's 53, for example. I would just put private to public 53, this, that. Because it's really simple now that the name of the company, or rather the company we registered as a public, so all those parts are simple. So the tricky parts of the draft, I will just note them down so that any free 10 minutes, free 15 minutes, I can just gloss over, make it stick again. So that was my strategy for draft, and I think it's a good strategy. So just to wrap it up, ideally practice every day. Ideally practice as much as possible, but the truth is it's not easy, and I know that. So those were the little practical things I did that I think played a large part.
Thank you so much, Nero. I would like to hear David's perspective as well in learning drafts, because you both have very different reading strategies from the session. So I would love to know, David, please, do you have any advice for us on learning these drafts? I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Sorry, still is it on my end? But I can't hear anything you're saying.
Yeah, I can't hear anything either.
I'm sorry, David, we still can't hear you. Okay, we'll come back to David. So we'll just ask Nero the next question here. So someone here is asking, you made mention about trying to combine Condi and notes and all of that after each class, but it didn't really work out and you resorted to your notes. Were your notes just a precise summary of the content of each topic in each class? He wants clarity on that part, the specific strategy you used for your studies after the lectures in order to cover before the next class.
What I said was I was reading my notes, Condi, and textbooks. That's what I said. Then I eventually found out that that was not practical because it was taking too much time, right? I then resorted to using my notes primarily. Then yes, because like you guys will know, Condi is almost an exact replica of what is in your notes, right? So there are some things that would refer to Condi, and then there's a way at times Condi may structure an explanation that would make it stick more. So yes, I would usually consult with Condi, but in the main, honestly, I use my notes. And then in terms of you said about my notes is summary of what was the class. No, my notes were exactly what the lecturer said. Let me put it that way. What the lecturer said in class, my notes were exactly that, right? Then what would then happen? Like I said, I told you guys I had the summary notes. When I was reading in the evening, I would then when I was reading, like, make instead of just having a long note, then be point by point. My story note was point by point of every important thing in my notes. You understand? So that was the strategy. I should then add, because people say, "Oh, it's difficult to get everything in class." I know what for me. I was in Lagos campus. They didn't give us slides. I know that may be different in Abuja, for example, but in Lagos campus, it's not easy to get everything in class. My strategy, and if I should add this because it's extremely important, I made sure that my note was complete before I left class. Honestly. So typically in class, I know they said don't snap, but people usually snap and maybe then upload the photos to the group chat. And even if that did not happen, see, it's simple stuff. Just ask your course mate. The part you missed, she probably got it. Write it. Because if you start using the 9 hours when you're meant to be reading, to be copying notes, when will you now summarize the notes? When will you now internalize the notes? When will you then even practice your task all over to make sure that you understand that concept thoroughly? So It's extremely important. I've digressed a bit from your question, but I just felt this might add some value. Just make sure that your note is complete, at least for leaving class, so that when you are reading in the evening, it's just straight up reading. Then for people that have slides already, maybe in Abuja campus and at times in Lagos they give slides, I don't think it makes sense to then recopy the slides into your note again. I mean, it just takes so much time, right? What I did, for example, at times in corporate class, they would give us slides. So I would now use those slides as my notes, and then I was summarizing straight into my summary notes. So it was just the point of what was in that slide that was in my summary notes, right? So when I'm revising, revising from my summary note, and then when I need to make recalls back to the slide, I'll make recalls to the slides. But the idea of having slides and then recopying the notes, guys, I don't think it's effective. Some people tell me, oh no, it's this from their note, they can understand. I mean, but you just have to be practical and precise. There's no time to be doing all of that again. So I don't know. But that's my take home in terms of notes. Yeah, let me stop there.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Nero. I'm sorry, David. Please, your mic is on. Can you please turn it off?
I just want to confirm. I'm here now.
Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Is there any echo?
Yes, there's an echo.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Let me just.
okay.
All right. How about now?
Yes, much better. So please, the floor is yours to answer the question, and please tell us how to learn drafts from your own perspective.
All right. So for drafts, I would say that how it was for me was literally the past questions. I had the first interaction with drafts in class, also when I'm doing my personal reading. But just like the principle of the Umukoro stated, which is repetition, I would encounter drafts. So what I did was first, I had to list out the drafts. There was something we did on the NLS Mindcheck mentorship platform. The mentor, Grace Carlo, during externship, told us to, she sent us like a format, and we listed out every draft in every course. Not drafted every draft, not full nice. We listed out every draft on every course. So for criminal litigation, okay, police bail, okay, bail pending trial, motion for bail, charges, summons, kiniko. After that, went to civil, just listed out on every course so that with a bird's eye view, we know the scope that we need to cover and then know which we need to cover. So what I now did, I took it a step further. After writing all those things down, you know that in certain courses, like for example, corporate law, certain drafts are similar. Certain drafts are similar. For example, company resolutions, notice of meetings. These ones that were similar. So for the ones that were similar, I ticked them with the same color of pen. So I had or marker in case you don't have pen. So you could use maybe similar ones. You could use red, green, and stuff like that. So I now knew that if I know how to draft a motion on notice, it's the same structure to draft any other motion. Or the only thing I need to be familiar with is the particular prayer, because those prayers have the marks that they accrue. So I had all those drafts listed, and then I noticed the ones that were similar, and then I now had to. There's no AOC in law school. There is no AOC in law school. Okay, there's no AOC in law school, but law school has a pattern. For instance, you already know the lecturers have told you that you can't escape charges in criminal litigation. You definitely can't escape motion, whichever motion it is in, whether it's ex parte or notice in civil litigation. You definitely can't expose, you can't not see certain things. So I had to list those ones. Those ones I had to establish them like thrice, that these ones are key. So I started majoring on the major. I gained mastery on the major. I can't count how many drafts me and Manny did, and me, Manny, and Erin. We did drafts. So my repetition was strategic. So I was not repeating the minor, I was repeating the major. So if it was charges, I would do charges over time, turn it upside down, know the one for, know when it's an information, know when I need to draft a charge, and what have you. So these were like practical steps I took in order for me to not just know the draft, because you could be doing a lot of things and skip vitals. So putting these things down, and majoring on the major was one thing that helped me. And then finally, it was past questions, because when you do past questions, you don't have a prerogative to choose which draft you draft, because it's what in the past question you do. So I was encountering some over and over again, and some I would encounter them for the first time, and I will learn my lesson and I will go over it. So that was basically my strategy for draft. Did you ask about principles to or the case law? It was just draft, right?
Yes, just drafts.
Yeah. So that was it for draft.
But we would not mind if you expand on the principles as well.
Okay, so for principles and case law, Umukoro has said it. If you get the case law or the authority right and you fail the answer, else nihilo nihil fit. You cannot put something or nothing and expect to stand. Mark no day. There is no mark. There is no mark for it. But if you get the principle right and probably you don't know the authority, or more you have the mark, probably what you just miss is a quarter or half, or at best 1 mark. So we go for the principles at this stage, for especially those who are just resuming in the first half. If you are killing yourself about honing authorities, then you're not doing the right thing. You're not doing the right thing. It's just like a 5-year-old worrying about not having a car. Come on, get off it. You're not doing the right thing. Even if you're on externship now and the authorities are not authorizing, the camera is not cameraing, the RPC is not RPCing. Chill. The truth is, the way the brain works, and I can say for myself and from my group during law school, I was more of like with people. I was with people, so the brain will always produce when demand is placed on it, when the things are done right. So what you just need to do is hone these principles right. You understand? The ones you can attach. For instance, removal of directors, you shall know that it's 288. This one you just be putting it like that 388. You just that shall just be knowing, okay, secretary 300. Just be this little, you can just be adding it. It may be that little that will count. And then finally for me was teaching others. I'm not saying you should go and teach everybody. I taught people in law school. Like after I've learned the thing, I would teach. You understand? People will meet me, how far this one? I would teach. Like teaching was a way of actively recalling everything I know. And because I'm teaching it, I was getting mastery in it. Okay, I was getting mastery in it. So that was my way. So we're teaching, and then I got to ask people, okay, what's your mnemonic? Some persons have mnemonics to hone, like for example, I think Peace Bayero, she's currently with Aluko and Oyebode. So she taught us during our campus tutorials where we were teaching ourselves in Kano. She taught one of the topics in corporate law, and that topic she taught actually came out, and a lot of persons were grateful for that teaching, because the way she gave us the authority, I think I've forgotten how she gave us, but I think after every 2 sections you see the next, I think was it Z removal, was a particular way she taught us that. So yeah, some people have like mnemonics they used to remember these things, and they could help you. Mnemonics for memorandum of association, mnemonics for this, so it could help. So that was like my own creative way of just getting around it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. This question is specifically for you because you mentioned during your bio exams the experience yourself and your friend Manny had concerning drafting the entire deed. So someone is asking, could you be more particular about how you and your friends went about honing the skill of speed and mastery of the drafts and past questions?
Okay, so it still boils down to repetition. So taking the first thing I said about listing those drafts, that was a personal thing, listing those drafts and everything. Then it was, we're doing this thing over and over again. Just for instance, now if you start working out, your body you'll be so pained and everything, and you'll feel like giving up. And that's the stage you guys are in. A lot of people are, you're working out, the muscles are being sprained, you're feeling pains, you're feeling like quitting, you've not done this before, you're thinking it's not your thing, and you just want to go home and leave the law school, and you're like second guessing why you even came to study law in the first place. The muscles are building. By the time you keep doing this thing, the goal is not to call it quits. By the time you keep doing this thing, you yourself will be shocked at the confidence you will develop. Thinking back, I'm just recalling how myself, in fact, Erin, one of us, went ahead to do the mock exams, and I think it was best in about 2 courses for mock exams that they did. Like, we didn't do it because we had other engagement. Me and Manny didn't do it, but there's a confidence you get by the time you keep it. So don't beat yourself. So what we did to able to get that speed, we didn't even know we were getting that fast until we started doing it. In fact, there was a particular MCQ we did. Manny, Manuel at Demoete, finished an MCQ of 1 hour and 35 minutes. 35 minutes. But it didn't just start like that. Over time, we're doing this thing. In fact, we'll meet at Vents, a place to eat. We just meet to eat. Say, how far, bro? How far now? If I don't chop, while we're ordering our food, we'll just bring out MCQ. Or Momo will run this one. We'll just do it. How far are you doing? Just like we're making this thing. We're not doing reading as if reading was one strange. We incorporated it into our lifestyle. We're talking law. Not to, and we're doing it, we're regimenting because there's some people you do it around and they'll feel intimidated and they'll feel bad. So that's why you need to have your ecosystem. We're talking law. We did not do reading as a special thing. We'll be on the queue. We're trying to eat. You'll be like, man, if I remember that Erin, if I remember that section, that thing, we'll just go check it up and everything. So we're positive about it and we're just doing it. That way, we're getting fast unknown to us. We're getting speed unknown to us, and that was it. You will know before a month or 2 months to these exams. You will know if you're doing the work. You will know. You'll be so confident in yourself, and you will just say, "God, take the rest." So yeah, that was much of it. Repetition over and over, past questions over and over. Yeah.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you. That was such an insightful answer. For Nehru, we have a 4-in-1 question. And these 4 questions are: 1, did you have a study group? And then we remember that you mentioned how you applied to law firms after your externship. So someone is asking, how do we prepare our applications? How do we draft our cover letters? Any hints? And the third one is, how was the law firm's interview? Any tips? And the last one is, you mentioned an aptitude test as well. How can we assess sample questions to prepare for that at the right time?
Okay. For study group, no, I didn't have a study group. For okay, let me go to the third question, which was the law firm's interview. Different firms with different formats for interviews. Olaniwun Ajayi, I did their interview. They were more particular on what your CV contained. So, for example, your CV had a history of energy,
Okay, I think network is bad on Nero's end, so we can ask David a question in the meantime while Nero tries to reconnect. So one of the questions here is, okay, I think we can ask, how did you juggle draft MCQs, answering theory past questions, as well as reading your notes each day? Or were there specific days you assigned to each of them?
Okay, so this is how I would say. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Like, is it all right? Or like it's raining cats and dogs here in Abuja, something else. So first off, is regimenting, having a regimented kind of lifestyle, because you can't do everything. You have to cut off some things. And then, Nero said something about notes, making notes, and what have you. And when a BGS tells you something, I think you should. I think it's something to go by.
Hello.
Not with Nero answer. Are you back?
Okay, sorry. I don't know what happened. I just got cut from the call.
All right. You can go on.
Okay, but let me just quickly wrap up. Yes, so
Yeah.
I don't think you can prepare for an aptitude test because content reasoning. How do I tell you? You know the way content reasoning works. Let's say 2, 4, 6, and then they put a box and they tell you to say what was there, and the answer is 8. how can I tell you how to prepare for that? I mean, maybe David has ideas, but on my own end, I think it's just I mean, of course, if you practice some aptitude questions, maybe they'll sharpen your mind a bit. So I think I'll put it as an answer. If you practice enough aptitude tests, that'll sharpen your mind. But for example, 10 plus, the test we did was it was not an aptitude test. It was a question, it was law school questions. That was the test we did at 10 plus, was law school questions. And then general history. Yes, I remember it was general history and law school questions. So I mean, if you read well enough in law school, you probably have to answer them. Abigail, I don't know if I answered all the questions. Okay, I think there was one about
The
cover
last one
letter.
is how do we prepare our applications? Yes, and cover letter.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
please.
So it's simple now. CV, cover letter. Make your CV short, make it succinct. You just point. You just want to know your experience, right? See, it's an entry level role, so you don't have to have the experience of a partner. Just to have good experience. I mean, I saw someone's CV, they put shopkeeper there. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you should put that kind of experience on the CV. Cover letter, again, to rule of thumb, don't make it too long. 1.5 pages is fine. They just want to know that you have some value to add. Of course, you want to work at 10 plus. Of course, you want to work at all these firms, right? And yes, you have to show that. But at the same time, you also have to show that you have some level of value. You have intern at a dispute firm. You have maybe intern at 5 different dispute firms. You have a solid grasp of law. Can you put something intriguing about yourself in relation to dispute practice that and tie it to the fact that with your foundational knowledge of dispute or your foundational grasp of dispute or energy law or finance, you believe you have value that can be used to 10 plus. Can you tie that in a CV? That's what you should do. First paragraph, my name is XYZ. I'm a first class graduate, yada yada yada. I wish to apply to be honest in a firm. Second paragraph, talk about 10 plus. 10 plus is known for this, that. Third paragraph, I believe that I can be of value to a great firm like 10 plus because XYZ. Thank you very much for just make like that. So I should also say this. A lot of people ask me for my CV and cover letter. Let me apologize. I am sorry that I'm not able to share it. It's not because it's deep or personal. It's just my CV would be all over Lagos if I kept on sharing it round and round. So I'm so sorry. I would prefer to just keep that to myself. But honestly, what I've just said is really how you can just do it. Just put your experience out there. Show that you know about 10 plus. That's a great firm. Some of the deals they do, they post it. And just link your experience with the fact that you can provide value to 10 plus. That's how your value that should be. And you'll be good to go. So I think that's it. Don't want to belabor the point.
Thank you very much, Nero. And last question, please. This is concerning the second batch that's currently in law school.
Okay.
Considering the fact that they're currently in law school, when should they look at sending out
The application.
applications to these law firms? Yes.
Man, honestly, such a good question. I mean, I wish I even knew of this question before the call. Maybe could have spoken with my HR during the week because truly I don't know how it's gonna happen because my set resumed February. We started our work January, February, right? So we would finish NYC around that time. That's next year, February. So now the firms will start trying to, start their recruitment exercise. But then the second batch, I heard that they're doing their exams January period of next year. So I don't exactly know how that time is going to work. I don't know if firms will just wait and just get from both pools. I don't know if they will just because if they just recruit from this guy, the first guy's pool, then there is no space for the guys coming in later. So the truth is, I don't know exactly how it's going to work because I know that the second batch is writing their exam in January. I heard it's January. I think it could work. And I would advise. I would just say probably apply now, right, with this batch. Then maybe indicate because everybody knows that there are two batches. I mean, everybody knows, it's not a secret. So maybe just indicate, reflect that in your. You never need to reflect it. If you call you for test, go for a interview, tell them that you're in the second batch. And that's what I would do. I would apply now because if they like you, they will. I'm telling you, they will relax. They would. let me just say this story just very quickly. I don't waste time. People had this issue with NYC. If you have done NYC before law school, it's always tricky to get jobs. And I see it on Twitter. People post at times that don't do NYC for law school. At times I feel like just doing my own trades, but I don't know. I just never get around to do it. I did NYC for law school, and I admit that it's tricky because the friends would say no, they want NYC, right? But then, I remember that I got an offer with Aluko, and Aluko found out that I'd done NYC, and they told me they couldn't go on with the offer. And then, to cut the long story short, I emailed their partner, this is the situation, and then they gave me another offer, right? So it's okay, even though I didn't eventually go to Aluko again, but the point is, I'm trying to link it to my point of I think the second batch should just apply now. Do the test, do the interview. If they like you, you tell them about this situation. You are finishing exam January, but you believe that you do well. Because see the thing, they give these offers before law school results is even out. Do you get? So if they like you already, they will wait for your law school results. So yeah, let me not believe all the points. That's what I think.
Thank you so much, Nero. That was such an insightful answer, and I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot. For David, please, would you mind expatiating more on the previous question you were answering? How you juggle drafts, MCQs, answering theory past questions, as well as reading your notes each day, or were there specific days you assigned to each of them? Thank you.
All right, all right. So please just once again, just confirm you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so,
we
so
can
first,
hear you.
okay. So I think the first what comes to mind is about timing. You will find out in law school that 24 hours sometimes or most times is not enough. So it's about actually timing and then knowing yourself. So you might have a clique of friends who probably they they're able to absorb things, retain things faster, and then you can't. So you just have to first just know yourself. When I know yourself can be an ambiguous thing to say, but when I mean know yourself is by the time you start reading, you understand that it takes me more time to really come around this particular topic or this particular course. So you now know how much more time to allot to this thing because it will be redundant me giving you like a timetable. Do this, do that, do this, do that. No, 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 no. But what I did as a rule of thumb was that I made sure I did not go to any class tabla rasa. So I prepared before going to any class because if you will soon find out if you have not found out already that going for a class blank you may end up leaving that class more confused than you went for the class because you will find out that the law school lecturers are not like university lecturers that break it down to your level. In fact, sometimes they deliver lecture as if you're in a symposium. They assume you know it. Some lecturers will even say that this is like a master's degree. You don't expect us to spoon feed you. So in order for you to like follow up or follow through in a class, I would really advise that you prepare for the class. You can use the outcomes as a guide. You can look at the outcomes, or you could do the pre-class tasks, or if you're someone who wants to just read alone straightforward, you just have to find out what works for you. Like I don't think there's like a straightforward answer to it. Because if I start reading out my experience here, it may be redundant for if not some persons, a lot of persons because I had a different regiment. I told you how many positions I occupied, so I was having less sleeps, and I wasn't really like I know there was just a lot going on. Okay, and I understand that position you are, and you're looking for answers. I tell you, the answer you're seek is not in Nero's hands, it's not in my hand, it's in your hands. Just do yourself, have the right mindset, regiment your lifestyle, cut what you need to cut off, and you will be fine. Really, you'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. I think we have room for one more question, and I see that Serena has raised her hand. So the floor is yours, Serena, to ask your question.
Okay. My question is: sometimes in Nigerian law school, yeah, it can be really insane. So how do you now tend to balance sleep and eating well and your health together with your books? I feel like that's something that should be discussed.
I would direct that question to David, please, to give us an insight on that.
Sorry, I was actually distracted. I was trying to follow up a message someone sent to me directly from this meeting. So please come again with the question.
Okay, Serena, the floor is yours.
I said that in the Nigerian law school, yeah, sleep and rest is very important. So how do you now balance sleeping and resting together with your academics? How do you balance it all together during your time in Nigerian law school?
Oh my God, let me start by saying there's no sleep for the wicked. All right. Okay, so sleep and rest. So let me just tell you guys. See, law school is just 9 months. It's just 9 months. Just put in your best. Just put this thing in. If you won't see your sleep will be tampered with. Your sleep will be tampered. In law school, I was sleeping sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 3 hours. You understand? Because and not just because I was reading alone. I told you I was doing a lot of other things too in law school as well. So sleep is important, but that's why you must know yourself. For instance, now there are persons who know that they have a record of like not really faring so well as regards their health. You will not expose yourself to the regiment of somebody who is a diehard. You understand? You just have to know it. So, for instance, now in Kano campus, you just have to know, okay, you need to get a mosquito net. I just feel like if you are eating well, just eat food and trust God to provide for you. If you are eating well, don't worry, you will chase whatever is coming. Because how to balance sleep. Because sometimes you can be sleeping and you not be having dream of a corporate law. You will not wake up and go and pick book and read. You understand what I'm saying? If that it will happen to some of you. So, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't sleep. You need to sleep. In fact, there's something our lecturer told us in class. What's her name again? She just property law. She came from Bayelsa campus to Kano campus. She said that even if you're reading into the night, try if and you let's say for example you just come back, you have not slept at all, and you are awake, like you've not slept in the afternoon, you've not slept in the evening, and you are awake till 2, 3, you will definitely sleep in class. So if there's anything I would say is just try and get the requisite sleep that would enable you stay awake in class. If there's anything I would say in regards to that. Because sleeping in class, I've told you how class is like your ground norm. Listen to the lecturers like grown up. Property law, I think one of the questions about land and so I've forgotten something about I think landing from registration, something about that legal share. There was one draft they brought. Well, I did not read that thing. Like I just those part of the notes that you just gloss over. What helped me in exam that day was I remembered the lecturer's voice, how she was feeling those things with us in class. That her voice was what saved me in that particular property law question. So just try to get enough sleep that you can, so that you won't be able, so that you won't sleep in class. You can sleep after class, but at least getting 5 hours sleep a day is good. So whatever you do, just walk around getting 5 hours sleep, and then eating as well. Just try eating. I had left law school with ulcer. I didn't go to law school with ulcer, but I left with ulcer. Okay, because I wasn't eating right. In fact, I took ill. Man, was it 2 weeks? I'll be a week to exam. I took ill. I was admitted in the hospital. I was everywhere. I was doing everything. David here, David. I was everywhere in chapel, class one. This, that. I broke down. I was not able to read for our mock exam. So just take care of your health, okay? But God came through for me. His grace has always been sufficient. So, like, imagine breaking down and getting admitted a week to the bar finals. It wasn't funny. Parents were praying, people were saying different things, witchcraft, that one tag, but right, I know myself, I did not rest. I did not rest. I did not rest. I did not sleep well. So please just take care of yourself, okay? Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, thank you so much, David, for such an insightful answer. We've taken all your words into consideration. And also, thank you so much, Nero. This session has been so insightful and honestly very mind-blowing. And I believe that every single person here has been sufficiently equipped to come out well after bar finals. Thank you so much. You can follow us on Instagram at the Excellent Nigerian Lawyer. And in the chat box, you can see a link that can direct you straight to our Instagram page. And you can also join our WhatsApp platform to stay updated with our events and programs, because there's many more to come. We just want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined this session. Thank you to our amazing speakers. We have learned a lot. Personally, I have learned a lot. And I know that I am going to apply every single strategy that has been given, especially that draft insights that David gave to us about knowing the similar drafts and marking them out. That was something that I've taken into consideration. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone here is very grateful. We can't wait to have you on another time. Yes, now I'll leave the floor to our founder.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's good. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, David, and thank you, Nero, for sharing your story. I mean, honestly, when I look back at my law school journey, I'm able to pinpoint webinars and seminars I joined like these that made the experience that just gave me guidance. And so thank you for relaying and sharing value to students who are there. I hope that everyone who has joined has gotten value, because even I, who am not a student anymore, have gotten some value. And yes, for everyone who came in late, we would be sharing the recording to everyone. We'll be sharing the recording. So click the link in the chat. It's pinned in the chat. There's an Instagram, YouTube, and WhatsApp, where for a WhatsApp group chat, you can always stay in touch and also reach out to people who would be available to answer your questions, and then the recording will be on YouTube. So thank you for joining. Thank you once again to our speakers and our able host, Abigail. Thank you. Please let's reach out and thank them in the chat, and we'll call it a night from here. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Nero. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abigail. Cheers, guys.
Things that we have in the profession.
Thank you, my room. I just have my table in my room, and I'll focus on them.